Hi, today we're going to learn a better way to take notes that will help you write your research paper. Good research begins with understanding the topic and asking questions that you want to have answered in your research paper. Now, the topic that I'm going to be working with is pacing and suspense, and these are the questions that I am trying to answer. How do authors create suspense? How does the pacing of the story aid in suspense? And how does pacing in Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge aid in the suspense of the story? Now, finding relevant, reliable information takes time, and you need to invest that time now, okay? The paper is going to be much easier to write if you'll invest your time on this end of the process instead of trying to just sit down and blindly write a good research paper at the end. Now, you can take notes by either writing them down or using a Google Doc. Now, I think there is some merit in the handwriting, but there's a successful way to do it online. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you both, okay? The process is ultimately the same. Now, to take notes on a Google Doc, you want to create a 2x3 table and label each column appropriately. Let's see. The first column, you're going to label quotations, paraphrases, facts. This is the column where you're going to put the information that you find from your sources. The second column is going to be labeled My Thoughts. Now, this is the part of note-taking where a lot of students just skip it, okay? I'm finding more and more that this is the column that essentially is going to get your research paper written before you ever sit down to write it. So please don't overlook this column, okay? Now, if you're using note cards, then you're just going to need a note card, okay? So I went and I found some sources, and this is my first source, and I have to tell you, it took me a while to find this source. I had to go through the first 2 pages of Google search, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're sitting there and you're clicking on each source looking for reliable information, it does take time. Now, what you need to understand, especially for this paper that you guys are going to write, is that a blog, unless it is written by a notable published author, is not considered a reliable source. Wikipedia, not a reliable source. In fact, you're probably not going to use any encyclopedias as your sources. Okay? So as I was reading this, the very first thing that I noticed was this line: pacing, as it applies to fiction, could be described as the manipulation of time. All right, so I copied that and I pasted it into my chart. All right, and then I started thinking about that. Why was that interesting to me? Who cares? And that's where the My Thoughts column comes in. So I wrote down my thoughts about this quotation. Manipulating time allows the reader to experience time as the character does. All right. Then as I went back, I continued reading, and I found another quotation, and it talks about writing and how pacing affects what the writing looks like. Okay, so what could take only a few seconds in real time might be covered in paragraphs, even pages, depending upon the writer and the event. And then I wrote down my thoughts about that. Good writing that incorporates pacing will include the details that make the reader seem a part of the scene, therefore still experiencing time with the character. So it just so happens that this quotation, the first one and the second one, because I'm writing down my thoughts, I'm thinking about ways to tie them together. And if I already thought about that here on my chart, then when I'm ready to sit down and write my research paper, all I have to do is put things together. Okay? Now, please notice that once I found my reliable source, I put the title of the article and the author here. Now, this this article, let's go back. There we go. This article happened to have a title, and as you go through and you find sources, it may be that you don't have an author, that the only title you have would be the title of the web page, but it is going to be helpful for you to put down something above that table. All right. Now from here, I'm going to multitask. All right. I want you to go ahead and start working on your bibliography. A lot of times teachers say do that at the end. But because you're working online, if you will do it, you can work on it now. And EasyBib makes that very easy. Okay, so what I want, it's the name EasyBib. So let's go to EasyBib. All right. So follow these steps. It's very simple. Okay, so I'm at EasyBib and I want to go to sign in, or log in, not sign up. Go to log in, and even if you've never created an account on EasyBib, your Google account that you have through school can be linked to EasyBib. So all you need to do is go to log in. And once you get to this screen, don't do anything here. Just come over and click sign in with Google. Now, the first time you do sign in with Google, the screen's going to come up and say, are you sure you want EasyBib to access your Google account? You click yes, I am, accept, and then move forward. And once you have logged in, you should see your name over here. Okay. Now, I'm ready to create a new project. All right, so I'm going to click on the orange button for new project. And I'm going to name this project Suspense Research Paper. Choose my subject, which is English, and then don't recommend my sources to others. What happens is that you tend to get a lot of email, okay? So don't do that. All right. Now you can see I have quite a few projects going. So here's the one that I just created, and I'm going to click on Bibliography. Now, because this is, in fact, a website, okay, it's Writer's Store, I don't need to change my source type, okay? But if you find that you need to change your source type, you click on all 59 options, okay? Now, I'm obviously going to choose a website, but you'll see that there are a lot of different options for you to choose from. And you will do a better job as a researcher if you choose the correct option. Okay, so I'm choosing website, and what I want to do is copy my URL right here where it says web address and click auto cite. Now EasyBib it's going to take a minute because EasyBib has to go out to the internet, find the information that it can find, and then show you this is what it found, and this is what it didn't give us. Now, the first thing I'm noticing is that the website title seems to be wrong. The article title is right, but the website title is wrong. So click Continue. And my website title is the Writer's Store. All right, and if I can scroll down to the bottom, I see that is my website title. All right, so I want to go in and change that. It was originally published on a website. That's the article title. The website title, the Writer's Store. Now you have to type it just like you want it to appear in your works cited page. Okay, so if you misspell a word, it's going to be misspelled other places. Okay, the author is Jerry Visco. Now, if you didn't have an author, you would just skip it. All right, but you do need to look for one. The publisher or sponsor is the Writer's Store. Okay, and I know that because I scroll down to the bottom and I look for my copyright date. Okay, and once I find my copyright, whatever is behind that is going to be your publisher. Okay, and I need to add incorporated to my works cited page. And you could abbreviate it INC, that would be fine. And there's the URL. And I always like to display the URL. Some people don't like that, but I'm going to ask you to do that for this assignment. And then we need to find out when this source was published. The only thing I see here is 1982 to 2015. This doesn't have a particular publication next to it. So what we do is we put the latest date that we can find, which is 2015. Okay, and I'll cite today's the date I found it, and then I click Create Citation. Now here's what you have on your page. This is a citation I just created. EasyBib has me set up and ready to enter my next source. Okay, now what if I don't find my next source until tomorrow? No big deal. EasyBib has saved this citation onto my project, and when I log back in, I can go to my projects and I can open up my bibliography from the suspense research paper, and everything's going to be there. Okay, so I noticed that the first words of the citation are VSCO. Now if it didn't have an article, if it didn't have an author, the first words would be techniques to establish pacing. But since I have an author, I just put the last name. So let me go back to my notes. And I want to go ahead and enter my author's last name. I want to create my in-text citation now. It's going to save me time when I'm ready to write. Now notice that there's only one period, and it's at the end of the citation. Okay? So let me show you what my note card would look like. Alright, so on the front of the note card, I have the quotation. Alright, I put the author's last name up here. And now that I know what the citation would look like, I would add my parenthetical citation or my in-text citation right there. The back of my note card has my thoughts. So even though I'm not typing everything, I'm still getting those thoughts down on the back. All right? So what you've done is you've gone through this process with one source. So I'm ready to go to my next source. All right, so I'm going to create another table, 2 columns, 3 rows. Now it may be that this source has a lot more information and I need more than 3 rows. I can always add more later. Okay, so I'll go out to the internet, I'll find a good source, and the first thing that I do is I put my the title of my article right here above those quotes, above that table, and then I will insert my quotations and I will add my thoughts. Okay, I know this takes some time. Good research does take time. Right? But at the end, it's going to make writing so much easier. Okay? If you have any questions, all you need to do is send me an email or ask during class.